Listen up! There is a storm coming! Like nothing you have ever seen!
And we're back. Hello, folks. How are you on a beautiful Saturday? Do you like the hair? I've only just seen how bad the hair is actually looking. I thought I'd done a much better job of it today, but there you go. You get what you get on a Saturday. It is a stunning Saturday in my part of the world. I'm hoping it is the same in yours. I've been talking to a couple of mates on the Sunshine Coast this morning. They're out and about doing stuff, and a couple of guys on the Gold Coast doing the same. So at least in the south end of Queensland, it's a very nice day. Hoping it is where you are too. The last few days have been pretty interesting. We've had a lot of things happening, but particularly on the Australian front, the suspended Dr. William Bay, and I love to call him the suspended Dr. William Bay because it's like saying the Honourable Dr. Bay at this point in time, I reckon. He has had a win, and let's put the win in inverted commas, in the High Court against this referendum, essentially saying that the referendum is null and void. It's never going to happen. Don't have to worry about this, that, and the other thing. A lot of people have seen a stamp on the documentation provided as evidence that outlines in great detail that the arguments put forward were never heard, never presented in the court. So how can you have a win if your arguments aren't presented? And I've got to admit, I had a furrowed brow over that, but I wasn't prepared to come out and say that the suspended Dr. William Bay is actually wrong. It's far better to get him on and get a bit of education. So, Billy Bay, g'day. How are you, mate? Welcome to the Voice of Freedom for the first time.
Thanks so much, Carl. A great day to be on, as you say.
Do you like that suspended Dr. William Bay moniker, the suspended Dr. William Bay? Because you get to use doctor still, I suppose.
Absolutely, that's right. That is a way to get around the unconstitutional suppression of who I am as a doctor that AHPRA has imposed on me. So until I prove them wrong in the High Court as well, I need to have that suspended in front of my name to prevent me going to jail for up to 3 years or being hit with a $60,000 fine. They've already threatened me since my Supreme Court case for not updating my LinkedIn profile to suggest that I was a doctor. So they are evil, they are vicious, and one must be careful. And that applies, unfortunately, to all Australians because this national law that they operate under, Carl, applies, unfortunately, to everybody. They think they have the jurisdiction over all Australians, which they don't. And I'll prove that in the High Court inevitably. But until then, it is wise to be cautious. And in the meantime, I love putting it out there because, see, a lot of AHPRA's power is based on bullying and threatening doctors and making them feel afraid and ashamed. Well, I'm not. I'm quite proud of what I've done. I'm quite proud of standing up to my colleagues. I'm quite proud of letting people know that the jabs weren't safe and effective. And so I have no shame in being suspended. So I'm getting it out there, as you have done today.
I was going to ask this later in our chat, but seeing we're talking about it now, I'll get this question out early. The health regulations have changed now for Department of Health workers. They're now encouraging the unvaxxed to come back to work. Does this change your case position in any way, shape or form?
No, not at all, because I wasn't working for Queensland Health. I was working in a private capacity. So I didn't lose my job because of a vaccine status or an unvaccinated status. I'm unvaccinated, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was literally freedom of speech. They found 45 reasons why I was a serious threat to Australia. That is that I was running my mouth off, telling people things, telling them about the vaccines. Those are the exact reasons why I had my license suspended for more than a year now, for simply warning people about the truth. And as I've tried to explain to AHPRA, they're quite out of the law. The High Court has already ruled in Rogers v. Whittaker 1992, paragraph 16 to 18, that it's up to the doctor and the patient to decide what is important to be discussed with patients regarding injectables or any other therapeutics, not them, not a bunch of board members sitting down in Melbourne who have not a doctor on the board at all. It is absolutely ridiculous and outrageous that we would ever accept these unlawful bureaucrats to dictate what goes into our bodies. I don't accept it. I know you don't accept it. A lot of people in the freedom community don't accept it. And that's why I'm taking them to court. They are in court and they are losing, and we will win.
Absolutely, and all power to you. I know that there are people all over the country that support you in in any way that they can, and you are a great supporter of the people. You are happy to take the fight to these bastards on various different levels, and I guess you're in trouble for trying to offer some clarity on the jab situation,
Yes.
and now. You find yourself in a position today having to defend yourself against attacks against what you've come out and said in the last week regarding your win in the I beg your pardon, in the High Court. How we've had a win in a case that hasn't been actually heard in the High Court. So clarity, I think should be the word for this show. Can you bring some clarity to the position you're holding that
Yes.
you can win in the High Court without ever being heard in the High Court?
Right. Well, it's on that point that I'd like to make a distinction on, a clarification on, if I may, Carl. So
Sure.
I'm not saying that the High Court ruled that the referendum is unconstitutional. No such ruling was given. But I am definitely saying and have said that I won, we have won, and we are winning. Let me explain now why that is the case. So this all starts with a deep understanding of the law. And the law is that we must respect and presume that laws passed by Parliament, as much as we may not like them from time to time, are valid until challenged. That is a maxim of law. In Latin, it is omnia presumuntur rite e davi proberta in contrarium solemniter esse acta. All acts are presumed to have been done rightly and regularly. So that is the basis upon which our society, under common law, operates under. The common law steps in only when necessary to defeat or to challenge the statutes, that is, the ones given by the Parliament. Now, if we didn't have the right to challenge these statutes, then parliaments would have all the power, right? Albo and Anastasia Palaszczuk, they would be complete dictators, but they're not. Thankfully, we live in a country where we do have a constitution, Carl, that does not give parliamentary supremacy to the parliament. That's England. We've evolved from that. We've improved from that, thankfully. And our law allows challenges. Now, the most important law to challenge, of course, is the law that's changing the constitution. And this is the Constitution Alteration Referendum Bill of 2023, otherwise known as the Voice. Now, I was thinking a few weeks ago that everybody in Australia was doing a great job of this. The freedom community was winning. We are going to defeat this campaign, the Yes campaign, on the ballot paper, because everybody saw the truth that it's not appropriate to change the Constitution for a voice that is unlawful, has unlimited powers, and is not even defined. It's a crazy situation. So I was firmly on and firmly behind the No campaign. And then I received in the mail, like we all did, hopefully, the referendum booklet 2023, which explained and showed the treason that the Commonwealth of Australia and the Electoral Commission was putting upon us. And that is that they're not going to give the ballots to the Australians with the proposed law on it. They're going to give a dumbed down, simplified one sentence that in no way, shape, or form reflects the changes to the Constitution that's going ahead. Now, and when I saw that one sentence, Carl, I was shocked because I felt emotionally, hey, I'm going to vote for that. Like, that seems cool to me. All it says, it's going to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. It doesn't even say it recognises Aboriginals or Torres Strait Islander peoples as the First Peoples of Australia. So Aboriginals should be more enraged than I am. And I am enraged, and I was enraged. And I'm thinking they are changing the rules of the game. We were going to win. It's like playing a game of baseball or football or soccer, and the captain of the other team, he's losing 6-0. He's just put his hand up to the referee, say, sorry, mate, we're actually playing over on the other field with other goals, with other rules. And so at this moment, I was like, hey, wait a minute, guys, we've got to not follow their lead. We can't go over and allow them to start playing the game on another field. Jacinta Price, Peter Dutton, they need to stand strong and say, no, the proposed law is insertion of Chapter 9, Section 129, subsection I, that there will be a voice, subsection II, that this voice will be able to make representations to the Parliament and to the Executive, and subsection III, that this body is undefined and anybody can be appointed to it, whether it's 10 people, 20 people, or 50 people. It is outrageous because we don't know what it's going to be. So that is my concern, that they were changing the rules of the game. And you know what? That's exactly what they did to Donald Trump in the 2020 election. That's how he lost. He had all the support of the people. He had the support of me. He had support of everybody. He had the most votes ever that he's ever gotten, 80 million. And then Joe Biden, the man who can't even walk up a flight of stairs, he gets 81 million votes and wins the election. I call big BS on that, total BS. And I mean, that legal fight is still ongoing in America right now. So I could see us repeating what happened in America one time, the same way again. That is, the people were winning regarding the voice referendum. The powers that be saw that, Carl, and they changed the bloody question, mate. So I'm not going to have it. Didn't have it. So what did I do? I decided that something needed to be done. And if nobody else was going to do it, I had to do it, because there was no point me winning in the High Court against AHPRA or Queensland and the medical board to get our informed consent and our freedom of speech back again, if an unelected body of whoever they are called the Voice is just going to make advice to Parliament and the executive on all types of laws all over the time. And it will be a dangerous situation, Carl, because people think that making representations or making advice is no big deal. That's what the Yes campaign is trying to sell people. No, that's not true. Because under the Constitution, the Governor General is the head of state, and he receives advice from Anthony Albanese. He receives advice from the Federal Executive Council, otherwise known as the Cabinet. So it's actually the advice givers who have all the power in this country. That is what
the hidden shiny bum bureaucrats. They're the ones with the power. They're the ones that live through multiple different political I was going to say eviscerations, but that's what they do to us. But as they evolve and the evolution between party to party changes, the minister changes. This is truly a brilliant example of Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, the old BBC TV series, where the bureaucrats, the people behind the politicians, have all the power.
Yes, absolutely. And we must stop them from having all the power, because these bureaucrats like AHPRA, they have killed people. It's not an exaggeration by me to say that they have killed people, and they will kill more of us if we let them take all this power. So whatever you do, do not let them win this referendum. I encourage people to vote no, because it's unconstitutional. And I encourage people, even better, to get behind me onto proving it's unconstitutional in the first place by not having this referendum go ahead at all. Now, I believe that I've already proved this, because I lodged my challenge to the Referendum Machinery Provisions Act 1984, funny year that, 1984, Form B, Schedule 1 in the High Court this Monday night just gone. Now, I was expecting for the Commonwealth, my opponents, and the Electoral Commissioner, Tom Rogers, to come at me swinging. And to my surprise, I got an email a bit after 4 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, just before Michael's show, and we hadn't planned anything, and he knew nothing of what I was going to announce. He likes to keep it that way. I got the email to say that my case wasn't even filed. Now, I haven't been shy about that. I put it even on my website, qpp.live/legal. It's all out there for everybody to see. I'm not hiding anything. But what I thought initially was, oh no, that didn't go so well. But then, as you need to do with the law, you just don't take things on face value. You need to interpret the decisions and
words
what they mean.
Things, and they speak in a different language. Your legal letter on face value might tell you one thing, but words mean things. So you've obviously got a good grasp of that.
I would like to think so. I did try and complete a doctorate of jurisprudence, but halfway through it, my professor marked me as a fail, because he said it's not what you know, but who you know. Might is over right. He literally failed me, even though I'd proved the matter right. He agreed I was right, but he wanted to teach me a lesson that it's the judge who's always right, not the litigant. And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, I'll see you later, USQ. That was up in Toowoomba when I was doing that there. So that was my first introduction to the law, but it taught me that you have to be careful with what you say and do, and to take things one step at a time. So I got this judgment or this ruling, 6.07.2 from Justice Jane Jago, that refused to file the document. Now, on the surface, looks like a loss, but God came to me and told me, you're wrong, William. You haven't lost. Think about it. And I thought about it and understood the inspiration. The inspiration was that a law is valid until challenged. And now I've challenged it. When did I challenge it? I challenged it by submitting my documents. I challenged it by identifying the respondents to my lawsuit. And that stamp that she put on it by Justice Jago was confirmation that it had indeed been challenged. For the only way that she could have read that and stamped it was to have seen the challenge.
Yep.
I knew then that we had won because she had also not said I'd lost. And this is the fantastic thing. An average person, a suspended doctor, not a lawyer, had gotten in there, challenged the Constitution, had not lost, thus opening the door wide open for any barrister, lawyer, or any other Australian to get in there and finish this dead or dying rhinoceros that's on the ground, stuck through the heart with this question of unconstitutionality sticking right out of its breast. That is what is happening, and that is what has happened.
So we're talking about the law behind the law, essentially, aren't we? And that might be harder for some people to understand. When you say we are dealing with a maxim in law, what does that mean for the layman who doesn't really understand much past don't break the law?
Yeah, those are common presumptions or assumptions in law. Like there must be certain things that we all agree upon for our legal and our lawful society to exist. Like we must agree that A, there is a constitution, and B, that the parliament has the power to make laws. If we don't even agree on those most basic things, then no lawful society can exist at all, and it just turns into anarchy. I don't want anarchy. I want us to live peacefully and happily. And I do not want an unelected body of people calling themselves the voice, Aboriginal or otherwise, running the country, which I believe will be at the behest of the New World Order, the globalist forces, Klaus Schwab, and all those other evil people, just to take the land away from them and from you and me, Carl. I think many people can see that. So it has to be stopped, right? Either at the ballot box or via the courts. It will be stopped. And that is why I claimed the win on Tuesday, because I know once Justice Jago did not rule me wrong, therefore I'm right. It's the Commonwealth who has to prove it's constitutional, not Billy Bay. I didn't make up the Referendum Machinery Act 1984. They've got to show the Australian people it's constitutional. The onus is on them, Carl, and that is why they have lost so far and will continue to lose. Now, I do understand. Sorry, go ahead.
So just on that point, I agree. There is a loss to them and a win for you to a point. There is another step that I think will have to be taken, and that is either you or, as you say, another legal type person or another person keen to press this issue needs to challenge the fact they haven't looked at the document or acknowledged or allowed it to be filed.
Yes.
And that in itself is the trigger, if I'm getting it straight in my head. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right, Carl. So since I did my lodgement of the documents, I got that ruling 6.07.2, got the stamp, I claimed the victory, which I believe is true. Since then, I've had some people behind the scenes, barristers and otherwise, come to me and say they like what I'm doing, they agree with what I'm doing, and they believe that I am certainly on the right path. But there is a little bit of a question over whether that stamp is in itself enough to confirm that I did challenge the law, because challenging the law is how we win. There was a previous case. In Boland v. Hughes, I'm just saying that at qpp.life/legal, they said that Mr. Boland, who was challenging the constitutionality of some of the referendum 1988 on the issue of human rights, interestingly, they said, so sorry, we can't help you because you didn't file early enough. You didn't let us know in time. It's just too late. That is why I knew that for good to win in this situation, somebody needed to do something, anything, to get it on the record. Now, I've got it on the record. However, you're right. There is this doubt in the freedom community and in some legal circles, not all, I might add, that what I've done is not enough. So with all humility and respect to everybody who supports me and wants me to see me win, and I do want to win, and I know I'm winning and have, in my opinion, won, I will take that feedback into consideration. And on Monday morning, I am going to submit the Form 31 to make sure that there's not a single doubt or worry about what I've done whatsoever, and that we have firmly, clearly, and completely and crystal clear won. So that is my next step, Carl. I'd hoped others would take up the mantle, would take up the charge, but again, it seems others don't have the time, money, or energy. And since I am suspended and have nothing better to do, I shall fight for this country, and we shall win. So I am announcing here today on your show live that on Monday, this Monday, I will be filing my Form 31, which is leave to file that very same document that I filed on Tuesday. And this time, they will have to hear me and give me reasons for what has occurred, whether victory or loss. Again, doesn't matter. This is why we're winning. This is why we won.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter if I lose, but we just got to get on the record. So I've taken that advice on board. I'm going to make another application because everybody wants me to, and then we're going to have a double surety of the win.
Malcolm Roberts was, many people have contacted me saying, oh, Malcolm Roberts really doubts what's going on with Dr. William Bay, or suspended Dr. William Bay. Now, I believe that there was a lot of conversation around and from Malcolm at some point. You have had a conversation with him, and I believe quite a long conversation with him yesterday. Has his position changed at all, do you believe?
I believe it has, yes. He was initially skeptical, as he has the right to be. Everybody has a right to be critical and skeptical of me. I am not a lawyer after all. But I went through the Constitution and the referendum provisions, Machinery Act 1984 with him, and he agreed. So I think you'll see from Monday morning and ongoing a little bit of a shift in Malcolm's position, because we all want the same thing, which is for this referendum to fall on its face. I believe it's dead, it's dying, it's done. It's just a matter of putting a bullet in his head. I'm going to do that on Monday, and then hopefully everybody can get back to not infighting anymore, and we can get back to helping each other to win, because we're all on the same side here together. I'm attacking the constitutionality of this referendum. I believe it is clearly unconstitutional. I believe the decision of the High Court on Tuesday not to declare me wrong and to not file my document is the reason why I have won and we have won. There is some doubt about it. Some people say, I will put away that doubt on Monday.
Okay. Let's say Monday you don't get put down again. You are heard, and you win. Are you worried at all about your win being enforced? And who would do the enforcing of your win? Because we have significant doubts in the freedom community that there is anybody lawfully in control in the judicial system, and you can't expect too much support from the government from your position. So even if you do manage to kick a goal on every field and tick every box, it still has to be enforced somewhere, somehow.
I agree. Yes. So my answer to that is twofold, Carl, and it's a great question. Thank you for that. The first question is that it's the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus, KC, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth, who has the primary responsibility to enforce the constitutionality of the laws of this country. That is his job, and he is failing. He is not doing his job, and he needs to be held accountable for that. Because that is his job, and he's not enforcing the provisions properly of the Referendum Machinery Provisions Act 1984, I have already taken steps to make him do his job, Carl. I have written to Attorney General Mark Dreyfus demanding that he intervene in this unconstitutional referendum. And if he does not, there are other legal steps that myself and others can take to make sure that he does the right thing by this country. Now, let's say that doesn't go well and we can't make Mark Dreyfus do his job. Well, guess what? We still have power in this country, because at the end of the day, Mark Dreyfus is not in charge of this country. The High Court is not in charge of this country. We, the people, Carl, are in charge of this country. And the High Court has said that itself. It has, even the Chief Justice, Keifel, the current Chief Justice of the High Court, says the political sovereignty, the power of this country rests within the Australian people. Now, that's what I love about the Constitution. That's what I love about this country. And that's what I love about the High Court, is that they are on our side. If they're not on our side, they wouldn't have let me in for that unprecedented historical win on the 4th of July, where I got an appeal able to be filed against the full bench of the High Court. And that's the crazy thing. When I got that filing, historical filing, nobody cared, didn't make a big deal about it. But now when I didn't get a filing, everybody's up in arms. So you can't win all the time. You can't please everybody half the time. You can only do your best. And I think, though, that if we all do our best, do something, we will win. So again, on Monday, I'll be putting this doubt to rest by filing the Form 31. And I think that there's no way I can lose again, Carl, because whilst they may be able to refuse to file that Form 12 that I did, guess what? The rules of the High Court Rules 2004 is they can't refuse the Form 31. And indeed, the registrar said that I could file the Form 31. And my opponents on the Yes campaign have been demanding that I file the Form 31. So guess what, everybody, you're going to get what you want. You're going to get your Form 31 on Monday. And then, I'm so sorry, Yes people, you have lost.
The High Court is notoriously cost prohibitive if you want to go and get involved with it.
Yes.
What is this costing you? How? I've heard talk of $240,000 to get them to open an envelope. I mean, that might be exorbitant, but still, their fees are excessive. I don't understand understand how they charge, or how you even would go to a high court and lodge an appeal or lodge anything. So are the costs prohibitive? Is that why people don't force these challenges like you are now?
I think so, yeah. The costs of losing a legal battle, like we saw in the Ben Roberts defamation case, are excessive. They can go into the millions of dollars. And that is because not only do the court fees need to be paid, but the lawyer fees on both sides, hearing fees, filing fees, compensation, et cetera, So you must have a huge war chest to win in the court. And that is why, even though there are lawyers and emeritus professors like Michael Detmold supporting me intellectually on this issue, there are few on the ground who are willing to stick their sword in the sand and to take a risk. Now, I'm taking that risk at much cost to me because I believe in two things. One is God, and the second one is this country. And I'm prepared to put everything on the line for that, Carl, because I will die happy knowing that I did my utmost best. In regards to that, the support that's required to win, yes, does come at a cost financially and otherwise. And that is why when I get personal attacks by members of the freedom community, it's very damaging to me, my family, and the freedom movement, because I need people's support to win. So if you wouldn't mind, I would perhaps like to turn the conversation now to an issue where I've been attacked last night at 10 p.m. by Tricky Tritty, the leader of the People's Revolution in Brisbane, who has alleged many things on a 21-minute and 27 seconds video last night regarding my actions in the High Court. He was very upset and said many, in my opinion, defamatory things about him. And I have begun legal proceedings against him already. It's on the qpp.life/tricky website. The reason I've taken legal proceedings against him, because this is a matter of life or death for me. If people don't trust me, if they think I'm controlled opposition or a liar or whatever it may be, they're going to stop supporting me. And that's the only money I make. That's the only money I make, Carl. I don't have a job. I'm not allowed to work. Upper hasn't let me work for a year. And I even filed an application in the Supreme Court to let me work in any job at all. And I lost that one. So it's devastating for me to have Tricky say these things about me.
Is that any job in health or any job at all?
At all, sir. At all. It's an outrage. It's a disgrace and a disgust, and the people of Australia need to know that, to see how unlawful this APRA agency is, that they think they can regulate me that much. If they can do that to me, they can do that to you.
Can't you attack them on basic restraint of trade laws?
I attacked them on the International Political Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court said, William, your arguments are wonderful. They're so good, in fact, that I need not rule in your favour.
Don't you love them?
Yes, this is hilarious. I know that's a twisting of the law right there, I believe. No disrespect towards her honour. But, it was very disappointing when I lost that. And that's why they came after me no less than a week later and threatened me with 3 years jail and $60,000 fine for daring to not update my LinkedIn profile under that law, under the law that I can't hold myself out to be a doctor in any way, shape or form, whether teaching, advertising, paid work. It's even worse than what I'm saying. As Alex Jones used to say, Carl, it's worse than what I'm saying. They're saying I'm not even allowed to work volunteer. I do hope that they don't allege that what I'm doing here is breaking the law. That they just might, because they're not winning any other way. So we've really got to stand together. I need people to support me, and that is why I'm fighting back against Tricky's allegations that I'm a liar and a loser.
Yeah.
He has said several things in that matter, and I've asked him to retract that, to delete the video, and to apologize. I'm not seeking any monetary compensation, and I'm not, at least at this stage. And all I need for him is to take that down, because our conflict could easily be resolved if Tricky just did what you did, what Malcolm Roberts did, what other people in the freedom community did, and call me, speak to me, have a yarn, do what good mates are supposed to do, instead of attacking me unilaterally on a video that without my right to respond. I think that's a disgrace and should not have occurred. And I will stick up for myself, like I have in the court many times before.
As you should. And when I first saw your release and saw the statement and then saw the stamp, and I've got to admit, I was puzzled and confused, but I wasn't prepared to say, look, the suspended Dr. William Bay has gone crackers and is telling furphies and lies to the world, because the law is a funny beast. And I think what Tricky fell into a trap of doing, even though he's claiming this is what journalists do, I think what trap Tricky fell into is that he might think himself a marvelous journalist, but he's not much of a backyard lawyer. And he needs to understand that there are laws behind the laws, and just because you have what appears to be a loss in your case first up doesn't mean you're not going to win through the loophole in the law that you were aiming at maybe the whole time. And
if he just called me or spoke to me last night at any time before his 10 p.m. broadcast, I could have told him that. I said, I've spoken with Senator Roberts, and there is some concern in the community that what I've done isn't 100% correct. That's their interpretation, not mine. I think it was still good enough. But anyway, I'm happy to proceed in the interest of everybody to clarify that. And so I would have allayed his concerns. I know that because in the video he posted last night, he actually said that. He said that if William Bay had filed this Form 31, he wouldn't have any concerns. Well, he's going to look quite embarrassed on Monday when I do file my Form 31. So I don't understand, mate. Tricky, please apologize. It'll be all cool. It'll be okay. We can get on with winning this referendum together. Nobody wants the voice to go ahead. Nobody at all. The yes vote is crumbling. It's going to crumble either on the ballot paper, in the courts, or even before it's even held at all.
Yes, I guess the next fear is that Albanese says he's going to try and legislate it instead, and Dutton says that if they get elected, he's going to take us back to the polls for another referendum with a different question.
How about that? If you ever wanted a demonstration that Peter Dutton and the Liberal Party is the same beast, well, that was it. I almost fell off my chair when I was reading on my phone that morning. That is outrageous. Outrageous. Yeah. But good. All the truth is coming out now. 8:32, the truth shall set you free. So we see that Peter Dutton is no better than Anthony Albanese. So the two-party system is dead. It's done. It's gone. It has to be. They don't represent our interests.
Yep, 100%. I've got a couple of questions that have come through first.
Always happy to take them.
Well, hang on a second. Where are they now? Does this have anything to do with standing for future claims for you? I think we've probably covered that, Elva. I don't think it wasn't that you weren't given standing. It's that because given standing is more an American term, I think, for their Supreme Court system.
Standing is still an important issue here. The standing of that Mr. Boland in that Boland v. Hughes in 1988 was an issue. There was the argument from the other side, the Electoral Commission, again in that matter, believe it or not, that they said, oh no, he can't sue because he has no right to sue. And Chief Justice Mason at the time shot that argument down and said, what are you telling me, that Australians in a referendum to change the Constitution, perhaps the most important, not perhaps the most important legal law, doesn't have the right to get involved? No, get out of here. So standing is an issue, but that question from that viewer is right, in that me challenging the law was important to getting that standing on the record, and it gave me an opportunity to describe why I had a special interest in standing. That is, I am a political candidate according to the Queensland Electoral Commission, so that gives me extra responsibility, rights, and a role in this political process in Australia. And that's why I got it on the record, and I will get that on the record again on Monday, and we will win.
Where do you stand with all of these help groups trying to help the medical profession at the moment? AMPS comes to mind. And I'm not for a second suggesting that AMPS are not trying to help in some way, shape, or form, but I've got to say they're probably more the scholarly approach. Would that be the way that AMPS could be termed in their attempts to try and get change here?
Yeah, that's right. AMPS is very good at communicating, at building a coalition, at getting the message out, at having seminars and speeches. I'm good at busting into a room and breaking everything up intellectually and metaphorically. And so I would hope and believe that AMPS are in the process of supporting me more and more. But I think that theory is great, which AMPS do well at, but you need action as well. Action is the currency of a man, Carl, and
Mm.
that currency I am hopefully delivering in spades and will continue to do, because it's action that counts the most at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be anybody doubting that you're not a brave man. I mean, I'm a bit ashamed it's taken me this long to get you on. I have tried, and God bless Margaret, the lady that
Yes, God
helps
bless
you out.
Margaret.
I've embarrassed myself at least twice. I've prostrated myself in front of her, begging for apology on at least one occasion in a park in Sydney, publicly.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
so,
And
uh,
that's the great thing about being Christian. At least I am. I don't know about you, Carl, but the great thing is,
yeah, yeah,
of course, we forgive you. And
yeah.
there's no need for me to give you forgiveness in the first place either. So, of course, no,
No, no.
all credit to you.
It's great that we've got this connection now, and great that we can have this conversation, because I know that my audience is a big supporter of yours as well. We want you to win,
Yes.
but my audience, much the same as yours, a very discerning audience, and there is a lot of talk of infiltration and
Mm.
misinformation. And funnily enough, the bloke that um, uh, spent all the time in the world in his little broadcast last night trying not to mention your name. We're happy to talk about him, happy to mention his name, and the name of anybody else. But he seems to be the one that's going off half-cocked. He's the one throwing out the misinformation at this point in time. So the arguments that he's essentially tried to use on you have bounced back on him. And this is a great sign of infiltration. So I'd be
Well, my
looking at that
comment on
statement.
that, yes, Carl,
Yeah,
just to save you from the ending there, my
thank you.
comment on that is that Tricky is proposing strongly, in his own words, that people shut me down, that they censor me, that I do not get allowed to come onto shows like yours today. Why is that?
Mm.
It sounds very much to me like the misinformation, disinformation bill of the Australian government. So, Tricky, wisen up, please. Freedom means exactly that. You're allowed to speak. You had a right speaking last night. I have the right to speak on Cafe Lockdown and this show and wherever I want to speak at. We've got to stop trying to control each other. And I'm going to ask you to apologize. And until you do that, I'm going to keep going until I win. You know that.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I just want to mention Cafe Lockdown and Michael. You and Michael did an interview with a cardiologist, professor type, I think from Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. I said after I saw that on my show that people had to go and watch it, because it was one of the most revealing interviews I have ever seen with
Oh,
a
yes.
medical professional in this country.
Yep. Two of them,
Michael should be applauded for
three of them.
his ability to keep his mouth shut and just let this bloke take as much rope as he needed. And as it turned out, he needed 47 minutes worth of rope at the start of the
Mm.
show before he began to really let the noose tighten. Both you and Michael, Patience of Job, I think that was like a 2.5 hour show, but so enlightening as to the complete and willful blindness and ignorance of the medical professionals fighting
Yes.
our arguments. You are both to be congratulated.
Thank you,
A
Carl.
magnificent interview.
Yeah, but again, nothing special. As you said, all we did was shut up and let the enemy kept making their own mistakes. That's what we
Were
got to
you
do.
surprised? Were you surprised at his at his
Oh,
answers?
yes. I was absolutely shocked because I was wrong. I thought that my colleagues knew everything about the mRNA injectables, about the death shots, about the bioweapons, which they're increasingly proving to be, and that they were just choosing to not speak out because of fear regarding finances, their career, or whatever reason. But that interview with Dr. Daniel Ninio showed me that there really are people who believe. There really are people who've drunken the Kool-Aid and have swallowed the lies from the government and from the mainstream media and from Big Pharma that these mRNA shots are the best thing since sliced bread. Well, they're not. And I try to tell people that, and that's why APRA shut me down, because the only thing stopping their multi-billion-dollar win was the doctors. That's why they came after us, Carl. That's why they shut us
Mm.
down and unlawfully on the 9th of March 2021 released that position statement, emailed it to all of us saying, guess what? You know that informed consent? Well, you can't do that anymore. You've just got to endorse the vaccine. That was the horror that led to the horror of the deaths like Caitlin Gotts and all the other people around Australia and the ongoing suffering from the vaccine injured like Vicky and like Dazzle right now who cannot get a straight answer from a doctor. And why not? Because this unlawful APRA agency run by the unlawful National Cabinet, run by the unlawful Anthony Albanese, under unlawful laws are shutting free speech in this country down. So free speech is the answer. Free speech is how we win. And thus, just by us doing this today, Carl, that is how we win.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Billy, for coming on today. And you mentioned Dazelle there and the issues that her family are facing trying to get the lung transplant for her. I mean, it's just a truly disgusting situation where hospitals can hold a person to ransom for this kind of thing. And don't know that we're going to get an answer, in time, but fingers crossed that there is a solution presented for that. Certainly,
it is outrageous. Absolutely,
humanity has to come to the fore at some point, doesn't it? This stupidity. Although now, I guess those people, those intellectuals, those extremely bright associate professors who've read all the documentation without querying the documentation, they've read it all. That was that professor's mantra all night. I've read the documentation. I've read the reports. I've read this. I've read that. Just been programmed all your years through study and university to believe what you've been read, what you read. You don't question it. And that's why so many of us, I guess, are on the other side of it. And thankfully, you seem to be one of the exceptions to the rule. You're not the only one out there, but on the medical side of things, you are certainly the lion at the forefront of the pack in Australia, and you are to be congratulated.
Thank you, Carl.
I commend you on everything you're doing. Good luck on Monday.
Thank you.
I guess with Tricky, he needs, I hope this, if he sees this, will enlighten him a little bit. It is important to understand the laws behind the laws. And sometimes, if you know anything about the legal game at all, you don't telegraph your punches. So if you are angling for this legal loophole over here, and you know that you need to do 2 or 3 steps beforehand, well, you will do those 2 or 3 steps, but you might do them randomly in different ways under different guises. But the fact is those steps eventually get completed and it forces the loophole open. And I think if we had to use an analogy, that's probably not a great one, but that's what you guys
it's a good one, and things are going that way, Carl, because last night, apart from Tricky's expose on me, which was not an expose, there was the expose by not Reuters but by AAP, who did a fact check on me, and they investigated my claims regarding the constitution of the referendum, which was great because it brought out all these issues to the mainstream media about the Referendum Machinery Provisions Act, about Section 128 of the Constitution, about my High Court case, about everything. Not only that, but the AAP went to the High Court, Carl, and asked them what's going on with the referendum. And they responded. They had to issue a statement. So we have got the High Court involved now. We have got the mainstream media involved. We've got senators involved. We've got Tricky involved. We got everybody involved, which is fantastic because that's what we need. We need discourse, freedom of speech, action, and we will win.
Yep. Yep, we will win. And by coming together, unifying, understanding each other's differences, accepting them, trying to get that education, that level of our vibration, our frequency raised, we will all push forward through all of this. And
Yes.
I'm not sure how familiar you are or you were prior to our catch up in Sydney for the My Place get together there in the park. But if you are around in a couple of weeks, we're going to be hopefully launching a My Place out Capalaba way, and would welcome you along to that launch. And if
Thank you,
Margaret
Carl.
is local, then please bring Margaret. Tell her I'll look
Margaret is
after
my
it for
vice
dinner.
president of Freedom and Truth Australia, by the way, for those who are wondering who Margaret is.
All right, yeah, wonderful lady, and yeah, I'm very embarrassed at having messed her up on 2 occasions. So anyway, you and I now have each other's phone numbers. So anytime
Yes.
you need me, feel the urge, mate. Pick up the phone.
Yep. Yep.
Happy to help out. And once again, thanks for giving up a bit of your Saturday to,
Yep.
to come and have a chat and
Yeah,
offer
sure.
clarity about this
Thank you.
position.
Thank you.
I think it's
If-
important. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if one more thing I could say, because you asked me earlier about the enforcement of this win.
Yeah.
And I completed the second half of the story. So to recap that, the first way was for the Attorney General, Mark Davis, to do his job to intervene and stop or amend the Machinery Provisions Act. The other way is for you, Australians, Carl, myself, Margaret, even, to sue after the fact. Now, this is not my preferred way. This is why I got out there on Tuesday and declared victory and got it all on the record. I don't want us to waste $300 million. I don't want us to have to go through the fraud of trying to change the referendum, the constitution that cannot be changed, and not in this way. So if they go ahead with this scam and try to pretend that one sentence on the ballot paper is the actual change to the constitution, which it's not, if they pretend with that scam, all we've got to do, this is how we enforce it, is each and every one of us, as many people as possible, sue in the court of disputed returns. You have standing to do that as an elector. You can do that, and that's how we will put immense pressure on them. That is why we'll win, and that is why I say we have already won, because the Yes campaign, the professors and the lawyers who have looked into this now, they know that no matter what they do, they have lost, and we will win.
So I think that's a great plan. A lot of people are going to say, oh, yeah, the only ones who are going to win out of that are the lawyers. And somebody described to me the other day as taking a case, to court and trying to fight these bastards on many of these topics is a financial fisting, is how it was described to me, that they will loophole you, have you come back and appeal. And every time it costs you more and more and more and more and more. And I think people at the moment, given the financial pressures of the mortgage, interest rates, life in universe, everything's going up. The idea of us being able to go and sue them for doing this is a bit scary. I know that there are members of the freedom community who will say, and I can hear him saying, "Oh, well, let's get a class action together and do that." Is that a potential option? Should we go to a suitably qualified solicitor / barrister and start talking class action in this regard?
Yeah, perhaps that's right. These are all the things that we need to be looking at and we can look at and are able to be looked at now that I have got it on the record on Tuesday that there are significant doubts as to the constitution of the referendum, and which these doubts will be put in stone, in concrete on Monday when I go ahead and file the Form 31 to remove all doubt whatsoever about this. And we'll win. And look, if somebody doesn't have the money to sue, that's okay. Somebody next to you might do. There's going to be about 65% of Australians who don't want this referendum going ahead, right? I'm quite confident that at least a few of those people, of those 10 million Australians, will have the money, the interest, and the capital to save this country. I know I do, and I bet you there's more than a few out there as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for everything that you're doing.
God bless you.
Particularly on behalf of the people who can't stand up in the ways that you are. So it's very important that you get the support. Do you want to give your website address once again? I've had some people asking for that in the chat.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So my website with all my documents on the legal case, all matters, the Constitution, and how to help me is at www.vofsat W.Q for Queensland, P for Peoples, P for Protest. That's QPP.life, LIF for Freedom E/donate. Thanks very much, everybody. We will win.
Good on you, mate, and look forward to seeing you in an event near us soon.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks, Carl. Take it easy.
Go back and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Appreciate you coming out.
See ya. Thank you.
See you, mate. The suspended Dr. William Bay, wonderful man. Thank you very much for coming out on a Saturday and joining us too. Thought you might enjoy that chat. It does add a lot of clarity, at least for me. I can understand the position completely now, why he would be claiming there is a win in all of this. Yes, I think there'll be another step involved before you can really see that the government will have to acknowledge this position. And if they don't, if the court doesn't uphold it, then this should be a huge flag for we the people, as William was saying. If the judiciary knows that it's wrong but still aren't going to stand up and do anything about it, and the enforcement agencies available to us, the people, are refusing to stand up and do anything about it, when it is proved blatantly, obviously illegal what they're doing or unlawful, then it really is only left to we the people to stand up and do something about it. I guess the big question is, what?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!